There we go.
I think we're here live. We're live. Hi, Paige. Hi, Chrissie.
Hey.
Hello.
What in the world are we doing here? Well, we're live in front of or in the Building Real Love in Real Life group. Hello, friends. Which reminds me, we're recording, which is good. I'm going to pull up my phone so I can see people that are jumping in here to make sure if we have any questions. There we are. Yes, I see us. Oh, yeah. There we go. Okay, so I can track that. So regular viewers of our Thursday live, hello, friends. And by the way, if you're watching this later, hashtag replay, we want to hear from you. Drop in your comments. We want to consider these conversations as Paige and I are here live with a special guest, Chrissie Kenaston. Yay, Chrissie Kenaston. Oh, Paige is raising the roof and I'm clapping. We need some sound effects, some state of the art. No, we don't. We're good. So I think the title of this particular live, I think we just came up with it, right? And it's Heal Your Freaking Trauma. And which wow, newsflash, is something that seems pretty obvious, and it's not. Because the reality is, as we teach and coach, we all have trauma. As I say, I have trauma, you have trauma, we all have trauma. So let's set a new standard to say that varying degrees and severity of trauma really doesn't matter, especially according to our bodies. And so we work with men, women, and couples to truly understand, one, trauma, what it is, how to heal it, the pathways in which to do so, which really releases us into extraordinary relationships. That's what we're doing here. So, and again, if you're here live with us, welcome, come on in, make yourself at home. Maybe you have some lunch, maybe you're still finishing some coffee like me, and settle in. We have a very special guest. Chrissie Kenaston is here, and we are inviting Chrissie to come in with us to share a little bit about her story, and her story as it relates to her own investigation, discovery. Oh my goodness, maybe I do have trauma. What should I do about that? And really leveraging her work with us, quite frankly. And so we're welcoming Chrissie into our container today to share a little bit of her story, and which is a really powerful one. And the story continues as we work together. The journey continues, as we say. Because newsflash, friends, are you listening? Okay, you're never done growing and healing. Sorry, I know you probably think, oh, I'm done with that. Check. Okay, which, by the way, that's masculine energy moving forward, right? That says, oh, I need to be done with this. Move on. It's the logical side of our bodies. And the reality is healing is a very feminine essence. Okay, so it doesn't mean, right, that the masculine, my core masculine energy, I do possess feminine energy, and it does need to heal. So this is an ongoing journey. And so we're going to step into this conversation with Chrissie, and very conversational. And we'll just jump in here. So Chrissie, thanks for being here. We're so excited. Paige and I welcome you in. Paige, is there anything you wanted to throw in here introductorily? Great earrings, by the way. I don't know. I just made up a word. Chrissie is actually a professional copywriter. And so she's probably like, okay, are they even speaking English? Does this? Yeah. So I'll be quiet.
Yeah.
Hello, Scott. Oh, go ahead.
I would love to hear Chrissie's story, everything that you've done such a tremendous job setting this up. And I'm excited to have her on and hear from her and her perspective. And it's truly just been an honor to watch her grow and transform and change. And she's just has this just insatiable, just like thirst and quench for more, and just super curious. And that is a necessary key and element into leaning into this hard work, is just having curiosity, and seeing her do it in such a compassionate way is really beautiful and really inspiring. Mm-hmm. And so I'm glad you're on the call today, Chrissie. You have much to share with the world.
Oh my.
Thank you.
Much to share and much to inspire. I just want to say a quick shout out to Scott and Jenny, who are joining us live. So welcome in. Let us know, by the way, if you're here live, let us know where you're tuning in from on the big, beautiful planet that we're living on. So Chrissie, tell us a little bit about you and how you came to understand that perhaps the trauma is part of your life, and kind of navigate us, kind of a little bit of a backstory, kind of tell us who you are, and then we'll move from there.
Yeah. Who am I? I am learning to not answer that question immediately with my profession or my children or my husband, because that used to be my default. I am a woman who is learning to heal. I do have 3 children, and my husband is in the military, so we move quite frequently. I am a professional copywriter, like you said, David. So I help online business owners with their marketing materials, mostly emails, websites, Facebook ads, things like that. I'm also an author and a speaker in the Christian faith for moms and women genre. And I probably in the last couple of years, I started to feel less in control of my mental state, I guess. I started to feel like a victim of my hormones, and like I, was always just reactive to everything, especially as a mom. And I didn't like how I was showing up as a mom and a wife, just very emotional, but like out of control emotional, not understanding my emotions or where they were coming from or how to handle them. And then at the beginning of this year, I honestly don't remember exactly like how the word trauma came on my radar, but I started to think, I didn't kind of had a bit of a rough childhood with my family, with some alcoholism in my family, and then some alcoholism in my marriage early on. And I felt like all that stuff happened a long time ago and I'm over it and it's not affecting me anymore. Like we've moved on, we're good now. And it was like, maybe I'm not good. Like maybe I keep having like feeling triggered all the time by my husband because I never actually dealt with the things that happened early on in our marriage. We just moved on and don't talk about it anymore. And maybe I have such a hard relationship with my family because we never dealt with anything that happened and we just pretend like it didn't, and then it was like, how is this affecting my kids? That was the biggest thing for me, the biggest like catalyst for me to start this. To be honest, it wasn't really about me, it was about them. And it was about, I don't want to keep raging at them every time they tick me off. I want to know how to show up in a calm way that's actually helpful to help them grow so they don't end up like this too when they're parents, right? So that's kind of what started this journey for me.
Yeah. And what I'm hearing from you is that, oh my goodness, maybe there's more to the story, and maybe the override, as we say, or the bypassing of our past is like, oh, that was then, that doesn't affect me now, right? Time heals all wounds, which we know is BS, right? As we say, work heals all wounds. So it sounds like you were navigating your way through that and thinking, oh my gosh, there's got to be a different way. And so talk to us a little bit about how that journey or how that revelation brought you to our world.
Yeah, that's a really cool story because we met in early 2021, I think, all 3 of us in the Faith to Influence group coaching. And David, you had reached out and said, hey, let's have a call and just kind of get to know each other. And I remember speaking with you and feeling a little intimidated by your energy and feeling like, I don't know what this guy's all about. Why did he want to talk to me? And you mentioned your women's retreat. And it was the intuition, I guess. My faith is very important to me. So perhaps a Holy Spirit nudge that made me go think I need to be at that retreat. And I don't know why, but I need to be at a retreat. So we had a second call and you told me a lot about the retreat, and I signed up for the undetermined date of, hey, sometime in the next year, I'm going to come to one of your retreats. Here's the deposit. I don't know why I'm coming. And then literally about 2 weeks before, I was coming to the February retreat because February is my birth month. And I was like, oh, birthday gift. I'll go to the retreat and ask my husband to watch the kids, and that'll be my gift to myself. That was when the word trauma started flashing like neon lights in front of me. Like, you have trauma from your past and you need to do something about it. And I remember talking to my husband and saying, I think I might need to go to therapy or something. Like, there's something not right here mentally. And then it was like, oh, wait, I have this retreat coming up. Let's wait and see what happens at the retreat and then figure out this whole therapy thing and how I'm going to move forward. And then I get to the retreat and it's all about trauma and what it is and how it's affecting us and our bodies and our minds. And it was just like, holy smokes, this is exactly what I need right now. So then at the retreat, I just chose to keep working with you guys after that.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, you mentioned, and yeah, thanks for sharing all that. I recall you, and this was February of this year is when you attended our ladies retreat, which we hold periodically through the year. And we do have one more coming up, by the way, in October. I think we do have one more spot left. So ladies, if you're watching this and you're interested in knowing more, there's one more spot to grab. But I remember you specifically saying, and this reminds me of what Paige said in the introduction earlier, that you are absolutely insatiable when it comes to wanting to learn and to know. And I remember you pulling me aside at one point and saying, there are things that I don't remember. I don't know if I have trauma. I can't recall certain things, or should I? And in our work subsequently, you've said, should I be going around and digging into my past if I don't remember and recall? And so it reminds me of just how you had landed in that space and went, oh my gosh, holy cow. Maybe my interpretation of trauma and pain of the past has been something different. And now I'm learning more. Talk to us a little bit about what you have learned, certainly at that retreat event, and then in our one-on-one work moving forward and since then.
Yeah, I think the biggest comfort and revelation to me in the beginning was that I am not broken, that there's nothing wrong with me, that this is very normal and my brain is doing what it is designed to do to protect me. And I can heal from those things and move forward in a different way. Like that was huge for me because I had been sitting in this place where I felt out of control, that I felt broken and like something was messed up in my head. And so to learn that my brain was functioning exactly how it was meant to was just such a comfort and like peaceful feeling for me that really helped me start to move forward, because I didn't feel like stuck in the mud anymore. Like I'm just screwed, you know. It was like, no, there's hope here. Things are moving the way they're supposed to, and you can keep going forward and change things. And since then, gosh, I feel like every aspect of my life has changed. I mean, we have talked through my parenting approach. I feel like it's revolutionized my family and the way that we approach our kids when they're having problems. And I feel like I desperately want them to understand how to feel their emotions and not bury things and be curious over critical, you know, and just like start to understand themselves. Whereas before it was just like, listen and obey. That's what you do. You listen and obey and you don't question, because that makes you a good kid. And so I've just like completely overhauled the way I look at parenting, and my husband's coming along on the journey with me, maybe a little reluctantly sometimes, but he's there. And so it's been great for my family. It's been great for my marriage, like just recognizing the importance of taking care of myself and how much that helps my marriage grow. Because I really had always felt like it was so selfish to ask for my own space or my own time. It was so selfish to ask him to take care of the kids when he's had a long day, just so I can go recharge. And you've really just helped me understand that that is a must. And doing that for myself is actually loving my family, because I'm showing up so much better for them when I take care of myself first. Like that has been huge for me to understand that I'm not being selfish by wanting to take time to take care of myself, because that's always been my struggle with setting boundaries, with taking care of myself, with any of it. And it's helped me with difficult family members too, just learning how to set those boundaries and knowing that I'm actually loving them better by putting healthy boundaries in place instead of constantly enabling their behavior and just, you know, letting them emotionally dump on me all the time and that sort of thing. It's feeling so much healthier on my end. And gosh, learning to listen to my body too, that has been huge for me, because you heard how I was talking about it at the beginning. It was such a mental, like I felt like mentally that's where all my issues were. Felt pretty healthy physically. But now that I'm starting to learn to listen to my body, it's like, oh, I can like connect the dots here between certain like pains I'm having or ailments and what that might mean related to my trauma. I'm like, what? That's a thing, you know? I mean, that's just so cool to dig into that and see how it's all connected and start to heal like physical things too when I'm dealing with my trauma. Like that's mind blowing. And then I'll just throw in one more little thing. Like we talk about the big stuff, you know, we talk about marriage, parenting, sex, like all that. You helped me deal with big spiders when I was camping in Texas. And that was really big for me too. So that's a little T trauma, but I learned to coexist with the big spiders, and that was a big deal.
Okay. Since you brought it up, you got to go into a little bit more detail on that, because it may sound minor, but it's nothing to, because even the little T, as we identify, the little T traumas, they add up, and there is something behind the fear of spider or fear of anything. So kind of quickly tell that story and kind of our work together and how that came about.
Yeah, we were camping in Texas over the summer, and my family, and there were giant spiders everywhere. And I just hit this point where I like broke down to my husband, and I was like, I hate it here. It's so hot and there's so many spiders. And every time we have to walk to the bathhouse, there's a giant spider here and a giant spider there. And I like, and he didn't receive that well at all. And he was like, I think he said something like, what if, you know, you plan our meals every week? And what if I sat down at every dinner and was like, this dinner sucks after you spent all this time planning out the meals? And so you helped me understand the way to communicate where I can still share my issues with the spiders and not really being comfortable where we are, while also validating all of the work that he put into planning our trip, you know, and just having that conversation in a way that he's a lot more receptive to. So both of our experiences are being validated. So no one's like really hostile or getting defensive, you know. So that really helped my marriage communication in general, because I've applied that to multiple situations now. But then we also talked about like, okay, what if there is a big spider there and you're outside, like he was there first, right? What if you can coexist with the spider and you can both be there and you both be okay? And I literally was sitting in the bathhouse and there was a little spider. This may not have happened if it was a giant one, but it crawled into the, like under the door, into the stall, and I didn't squash it. I sat there and I was like, okay, spider, we can both be here. We're going to be fine. Just please don't crawl on my foot. And he just crawled by and kept on going, and I didn't kill him. And I was really proud of myself.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Thanks for sharing that story. I think what's important about this is it not to be diminished or dismissed or spiders really, but what's the reality behind that is there is a fear and a communicative fear going on there that is compounded on the other quote traumatic original incidences of your past. And it's just builds upon that. And for us to navigate and excavate into that and understand, then led us to some really powerful communication between the masculine and the feminine, which I know you have been navigating, and you're also one of the students of Paige's Surrender program that's going on right now for women. And so you're navigating this cross section of really Paige and David's work in polarity and trauma-informed healing. And so can you talk a little bit about how that has, the masculine, feminine, and how that has kind of seeped into your relationship and you trying to understand, okay, when I say this, my husband says this and receives this. Kind of talk a little bit about your relationship has been moving forward with that lens.
Yeah, I have been so intrigued by this masculine, feminine thing, because I hadn't really heard of it before working with you all. And especially being a military spouse, when my husband's gone a lot, I've been in the masculine, kind of forced into the masculine for years of being in charge of everything, you know? And so rediscovering the feminine and being okay with that has been and is still quite the journey for me. I mean, Paige and I have just begun our work together. And as I'm listening to the beginning of your modules and digging into femininity and what does it mean, and I'm realizing like I've never really been in touch with a girly, you know, female side. And I've always actually viewed that negatively. And so I'm starting to like actually crave that. Like I can feel my body craving getting in touch with the feminine side, right? And like it feels good and peaceful and aligned and like exactly what I'm supposed to be doing, you know? And so like just letting myself into that whole concept of fluidity is very foreign to me. I've always been like, I need a plan. I need a checklist. I want it written down. We cannot ever change it or I will freak out. So it feels really good to step away from that though. Whereas in the past, that has felt very scary in an uncomfortable way. Now it feels still scary, but in a comfortable way, if that makes sense. Like I want to lean into this, and I can feel my husband, he's not exactly voicing it. So I guess it's maybe an energy that I'm feeling, but just that everything feels better. Like it's like a gear clicked into place. You know what I mean? Because he's very much a natural leader and very into his masculine and, you know, naturally takes the reins and wants to lead. And so for me to just let him do that, which is something I had never had any thought process about before, of just letting him lead and me having my role with the more intuitive, fluid side, very foreign, but feels very good to be stepping into.
It's so powerful. So
Wow.
powerful. Yeah.
That is beautiful.
Yeah. Extraordinary. And I think it highlights, again, kind of this cross section of where, you know, Paige and I are working with folks is to understand men, women, and couples, is to understand this cross section, right? This intersection, I should say, of polarity, masculine and feminine energy, and the leader and the follower, and how then when the polarity is intact, our trauma healing can go even further and deeper because we're in support. As we've often said, the definition of an intimate relationship, which so many folks who are watching here live or later are like, yes, I want that. I want that. I want that. To understand that when a relationship is truly, truly deeply defined as that I can hold space and support the healing of my partner's trauma, not to fix them, not nag them, right? Not drag them into their own healing, or as I'm healing, they're supposed to heal tit for tat, right? Which we know is not healthy. But to truly understand that we understand the energetics between the masculine and the feminine, which is what your husband and yourself are doing right now and trying to navigate, is okay, this makes more sense. I feel so more supportive. I'm deeply in my feminine, right? And then you're able to go more deeply into the healing energy, which is innately feminine. Really, really powerful stuff. I'm going to pause here. Paige, did you have, anything you wanted to follow up or questions? Okay. I saw you fastidiously writing things down. And I know when Paige looks down and she starts writing, the world is about to hear some major awesome shit. So I wanted to.
No pressure.
Yeah, no, yeah. She's like, no, I'm good,
Like,
which is a great boundary.
Just playing tic-tac-toe with myself. No, I'm
well,
kidding.
there you go. Yeah, she's like, no, I'm just chilling.
I loved what Chrissie said, and most women kind of have this mentality that it is selfish. It's selfish to take care of ourselves and to prioritize ourselves, even though we all have heard the phrase over and over again, fill up your cup first, right? We hear that and we're like, yeah, cognitively, I get that. Intellectually, I get that. But like when it actually comes to like being it and doing it and embodying that, then that's where it begins to kick up the shame and perhaps feelings of selfishness, etc. So I love that you're navigating all of that too. And you're very aware of the emotions that are coming up, and also extending yourself grace and compassion. Like, you know what, this feels good. I know it's weird and it feels hard and a bit scary, but this also feels like I'm finding a new rhythm and a new harmony in my body. And therefore that harmony is now beginning to bleed and permeate throughout the entire household, into the marriage, but also into the relationships with the kids. So beautiful. Congratulations. Good stuff. Like incredible awareness and incredible work.
Thanks.
Yeah. Beautiful. So Chrissie, I want to highlight, because I know there are folks, and by the way, I want some shouts outs here. Shouts outs. Scott tells us he's in Buffalo. Oh, Scott, if you're still watching. Mike is here. Becky is here. Laurie is here. So let us know that you're here, where you're tuned in from. If you have questions, please drop those in here as well. We consider this a conversation. So Chrissie, I'm curious if you can recall, because I know that there's women and men. We have men retreats as well, but this retreat experience, I want to talk a little bit more about. When you left that environment, what was different? What was the most impactful for you? What if somebody is watching this and they're like, okay, I'm kind of on the fence. I I really like watching David and Paige. I like what's going on there, but boy, that's another step, right? Is to step into a 3-day intensive with David and Paige. So folks that are watching, women that are watching specifically, because that's been your experience, is what would you share with them? Like, this is why they need to be there. This is what I've learned. This is what they're going to come away with. Help shed some light from a firsthand experience.
Yeah, this is where our title came from, right? You need to heal your freaking trauma. No, it's going to sound dramatic or exaggerated, but I feel like that retreat changed my life. And I don't say that to blow smoke or anything. Like, truly, it changed the trajectory of my life, where I was just kind of living in status quo. It is what it is. This is who I am. I lived through those things. So that's always going to be what it's going to be. And it was like blinders were pulled off at this retreat that I didn't even know were really there. That I realized how much potential there is to become authentic and stop feeling anxious, scared, angry, uncomfortable in my own skin all the time. Like, I can very easily put on this like confident facade when I go to speak for my business, or I speak at a women's conference, in a church or something like that. But in social settings, especially brand new social settings, things like that, I always was like, I have social anxiety. Like, that's just who I am. And that retreat started to make me go, well, why? Like, why do I have social anxiety? Do I need to keep having social anxiety? Is there something I can do about this? Why do I scream at my kids? Do I have to keep screaming at my kids? Is there something I can do about, like all these things in my life that have frustrated me for years? And I had tried to do things about them, and I remember having a really vulnerable moment at the retreat that I don't mind sharing now, where, I said my faith is really important to me. And at the retreat, I said, I don't understand why I can't just pray and feel better. Like, aren't we supposed to be able to pray and ask God for strength, and he gives us the strength and then we're good? And like, why isn't that working? And I was just so frustrated that I felt like, am I not close enough to God? Am I not doing the right things or hearing him right, or what? Like, I was just really frustrated. And you said prayer without action is nothing. And so while I was at the retreat, when I left the retreat, when we started working together through all of that, I just found myself constantly checking in with God and saying, is this what you want me to do? Am I on the right path? Like, is this what I'm supposed to be doing? And he just kept giving me confirmation, and I frequently ask you questions like, okay, well, how does this line up with scripture? How does this line up with what God tells us to do? And you have been wonderfully patient with explaining things to me and helping me really understand like the root of the meaning of scripture and how this is all very aligned with Jesus and what he modeled for us. And that was huge for me. I feel like I kind of got off on a tangent there, but that's the retreat just really opened my eyes to all of this that I didn't even know was there. I didn't know was possible. And I have just felt so much healthier ever since. And it hasn't been the solid upwards trajectory, right? It's gone up and down, either because of things I was just going through at the time. I just moved across the country and, but also just sometimes discovering things is really hard and exhausting. And I have felt really tired through a lot of this, but it's like the worth it kind of tired, where I have I would never undo what I have done. Like, I would do it again and again. And I think people are getting tired of me talking about it, my close friends, because I'm like, you guys got to go on this retreat. You got to start listening to David and Paige. Like, I'm going to shout it from the rooftops. Heal your freaking trauma.
Love that.
Yeah.
Heal your freaking
my long
trauma.
Answers.
Beautiful. Oh, no. It's incredible. Hi, Kelly. Kelly has dropped in on us as well. I love what you said when you said it's a tired worth. I think that's what you said. It's worth being tired. I would do it again. And, we don't mince words in our work together. In fact, we often say this. I think I said this to you specifically when we started our one-on-one work after the retreat. is I said, be careful what you wish for, right? Be careful what you wish for, because we're about to dive into areas and lift up rocks and look in crevices that perhaps you've never done before. But know that you are in a safe, secure, and challenging container in which to navigate and to move through those tough situations. And so thank you once again for entrusting us with your spirit, with your soul, with your body, with your mind, with your journey, with your trajectory of your life. And it sounds like to me that it's, oh yeah, it's working. It's hard and it's working. And I would do it over and over and over again. I wanted to mention this too, is I think it's a powerful understanding. And I'm so thankful that you brought up your spiritual journey, your faith journey, is to know that everyone who comes to these events and everyone that we work with, they come from all over different faith journeys and spiritual ways and pathways and believe in different things. But the one thing that we can come together is to understand that there's universal foundations of understanding how to heal the trauma, and that people come from all different backgrounds. And in fact, I think we talked about this at your retreat, and we often talk about this, is spiritual trauma. And I know that there are so many people watching perhaps right now who are thinking, oh my gosh, I was forced to believe a certain thing, or my family did this, or I'm still shamed for believing certain things. And know that this is part of a really important area in which we help people navigate through the healing of their spiritual trauma, because it can be really, really deep, and it's not often talked about. So it's certainly something that we specialize in as well. And so thank you for bringing that to our attention, and thank you for the confidence in saying in our work together and our one-on-one work together, that you're receiving clarity that things can align when once upon a time you thought, oh wait, those are two opposing ideas and so they can't coexist. So thank you for being curious before critical and navigating that, and I appreciate the boundaries therein. So Chrissie, you made the decision to yet step into even more post-retreat opportunity to work one-on-one with me. Talk a little bit about the specificity of that. Like, what is that doing for you? Because you're in our one-on-one coaching program. We meet every other week, one-on-one over Zoom. Talk a little bit about that specific container and why that has been important for you, our one-on-one work.
Yeah, I knew that I wanted that personal attention even before I knew it was possible with you. Like before the retreat, even I had said I was thinking I needed a therapist. And I thought I wanted someone in person. Like I thought that was very important to me. And then during the retreat, just learning from you and Paige, it felt so good and aligned that when the opportunity came up, I was like, yes, this is exactly what I need. I mean, it was almost just like an intuitive feeling of that's what I need to do. We're at least going to give it a shot. And now I'm so grateful that I did, because I really look forward to our calls and just having that space to bring whatever I need to the call has been great. You know, we had set some goals at the beginning of like, here's some areas that are really important to me to heal. But I often just come to the call with, hey, this thing happened yesterday and I really need to work through it, you know, and that has been huge because those things really have been part of my big overall goals, right? They're just like little pieces of it. And so it's always working towards the overall healing. But I like knowing that I can bring something that just happened, or I can say, okay, let's go deep on this thing today and I'm ready, you know, and that you let me kind of dictate that. Like you always ask, what do I want to talk about? What am I ready to talk about today? And there's been times where I'm like, I can't talk about that subject today. So let's do something else instead and save that for another time. And I've never felt, you know, like that was a bad thing. You were always so supportive of that. So that's huge. And now I'm just diving into this program with Paige too. And I can already feel like just the balance of the two is going to be incredible. Like having the feminine and the masculine perspective. And that was at the retreat so incredibly powerful too. Myself and some of the other girls at the retreat had talked about that, like just observing the two of you and the way you kind of had this dance going of who spoke when and how you know, completed each other's thoughts. And it was just so fluid and like seemed so natural and easy. And we were just like, man, I want that, you know? And so I just love having like that you bring both of those perspectives to the table with Daring Deeply is huge to have that modeled for us. And then having access to both of you has been great.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Yeah. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, that was, we often get, pardon me, we often get some really gracious feedback in that. And that is something that we work really, really hard at. It just doesn't happen. We work really hard, which I think is a great testament to what you're doing, is you're working hard for those results. And to have, it sounds like, and to have something to work toward is super important, which leads to really kind of putting a bow on this conversation, Chrissie, because I feel like, and Paige would probably resonate with this, is we could continue to talk all day long.
Yeah.
But as we say, great conversations are never completed. We just put a pause in them, right? But we're going to go ahead and bring this conversation to a close. So my final question is, I know there are folks who are watching this either live right now, and again, let us know that you're here. Kelly just wrote down hard and worth it. Yeah, she knows. She's one of our clients as well. Oh, thank you, Scott. Scott has to go, but appreciate you being here live, brother. So many folks are watching this and saying, I've thought about hiring a coach. I've thought about perhaps investigating what these retreats are about, or working with David 101 or Paige 101 or Paige's Surrender program, her course. What would you say to those folks who are kind of thinking, I don't know, should I stick my toe in the water? What areas of wisdom would you give these folks to say, this is super important? Or maybe it's just an extrapolation on the title of this live, which is Heal Your Freaking Trauma, right? But what would you specifically say to folks who are like, okay, maybe this is my pathway, and maybe I need a little nudge to push me over the line?
Yeah, I would say, at least from my experience, I think you already know that this is what you need to do, right? And it's really easy to come up with objections in your head of, well, I don't know if I have time for that. I don't know if I can afford it. I don't know if it's actually going to work. You don't know until you try. And it's just hard for me to imagine it not working, because, we're all bringing different things to the table here, like you said, and yet all of your clients seem to be having the same outcome, right? Of really just starting to change their lives, and to not have to feel so many of the hard negative things that we're feeling anymore. Or maybe it's more accurate to say, to know what to do when you feel them, right? Because it's not like you're waving a magic wand and all of a sudden nothing hard ever happens. It's knowing what to do when it gets hard. And I mean, just hearing the evidence of it working, like I think on a call the other day, someone said, how do you know when you're healing? And I thought, oh, that is a question that I have had. And you said, it's when you start to, there's like longer periods of time between whatever that like trigger is, right? And I started thinking about my time as a mom, and I'm like, I am seeing longer periods of time between when I rage at my kids, and much more frequently it's I'm staying calm, I'm remembering to take deep breaths, and I'm having a conversation. Like, that's huge. I've been trying to do that for 9 years. And in 6 months of us working together, I'm doing it, like that's crazy. So yeah, I think, if you are feeling that inner nudge, that intuition, Holy Spirit, whatever you want to call it, that nudge that's for a reason. And so I would follow it.
Fantastic. Well, I think that's kind of a perfect way to pause, I believe. So, Paige, you got anything you want to put on to this with your brilliance and all that?
Congratulations, Chrissie.
Yeah. Holy cow.
You're just doing a tremendous job, and you're leaning in, and you're doing the work, and it's working.
Yeah.
And it's because you're doing it. And it takes a courageous, committed, curious, honest, vulnerable, and individual to lean in and do the work. And because of all of those elements of you, that's why it's working. That's why you're healing. That's why you're seeing improvement. So we're here to provide like support and suggestions and guidance, but you're doing the work.
Yeah, that's a perfect way to say that, Paige. Yeah, we're certainly not, we don't, as Chrissie said, have the magic wand. If we did, holy cow, right? But the reality is, what we do is we provide a safe, secure, and container in which for you to discover the pathway and for us to lead you in that direction. but ultimately it's Chrissie who's taking the steps forward, not David and Paige, right? We just have the passion and the understanding, and we are putting the work in ourselves, me, David, Paige as herself, and then working together, certainly in a intimate relationship together, and then as we do it in this particular coaching practice. So Chrissie Kenaston, thank you so much. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your energy. Thank you for your encouragement, your passion, and your want to work, your want to heal, and thank you so much. You have been screaming from the rooftops, and we've had a couple of ladies come to our retreat since then that you've recommended. And so thank you so much. And speaking of which, we do have one final retreat this year in 2022. It is in October. So ladies, we do have one more spot left in there. We also have a men's retreat coming up September 28th of this year. Here, all the retreats are here held in Nashville. So gentlemen, if you're interested in coming and spending time 3 days with me, and Paige will be having some guest appearances at that retreat as well. But ladies, specifically after hearing Chrissie today, if you're like, okay, that's putting me over the edge, let us know. Drop us a comment. We can get on a call and see if it's a good fit for all involved. And also too, it's not too late, because Chrissie is in Paige's surrender program that just started yesterday or day before yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a 10-week module course, self-led, plus Paige comes in with her brilliance on bi-weekly calls, live calls to receive coaching and Q&A. And it's called Surrender, Becoming One with a Feminine Body. So if you're interested in jumping in that, it's not too late. So all the ladies, if you're interested in knowing about that, we have all kinds of opportunities for folks to jump in. But and we look forward to talking to you. If it feels like a good fit, we'll discover that together. Okay. Any last words, ladies? Good? Are we good? Awesome.
It's fantastic.
Awesome. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you again, Chrissie. It was a pleasure, and we are so honored to be firsthand witnesses to your work and your healing, and your life is changing, and it's really beautiful to watch. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all for having me on.
Absolutely. All right. Thanks, friends. Take care. Bye-bye.